It was about this time that Fionn and the Fianna were spending more time with the other world than they were in this world. And it was said in the stories that they spent as much time in the house of the gods as they spent in the house of the people. And on this day, they were on a hill, the five of them sitting up there. Oisin, Fionn, Diarmid, Louison and Cuana Mac Cumhaill. And they looked down from the hill and there was a strange sight. It was a big lump of a lad. He had a pitchfork over his shoulder, and stuck between the tines of the pitchfork. It was a pig. It was squealing. And the man was lumbering along. And as he came into view, they could see there was a girl behind him, prodding him with a stick. Now, this is as strange as anything they'd ever seen. So, of course, they went to investigate. They went down the hill, but as they got down the hill, the trees got in the way of their view of the pair, and they were lost to sight. But they followed the direction they thought they'd gone. And as they went along, the trees got taller, and whatever it was about it, the lie of the land, the height of the trees, it got darker and darker. And a mist crept in, first touching their ankles and then rising up, till all that was seen over the mist were the heads of the five men walking between the trees. It became clear that this wasn't an ordinary mist, but a ceoldraíochta. And as they walked around a corner, they saw a small cottage and a green bawn rising up to it. And in the front of the cottage, two wells, one with a steel ewer and the other one with a bronze ewer. And Fionn, of course, went to investigate, and he knocked on the door. And as he did, it opened almost immediately. There was an old man there with white hair looking at him. Fionn Mac Cumhaill, and welcome. And he opened the door wider, and the five looked in, and behind him, sitting down, was the young girl they'd seen earlier. And on the right-hand side of the fireplace, stirring a boiling pot pig, was the buddock they'd seen, that big lump of a lad. And to his left, a man with dark grey hair and 12 eyes in his head. Now, the white-haired man ushered them in, and as their eyes grew used to the dim light inside the cottage, they saw further in. There was a ram standing there, and blue horns on him and green feet and a white belly. And at the end of the cottage, an old hag with a grey veil wrapped round her. And that was all that was in the cottage. And the five men sat down. The strange thirst came over Fionn, and he looked at Cuilche, and Cuilche could see him licking his lips. And Cuilche said, "Is there not a drink in the house for the Fianna?" And the old white-haired man said, "There are two wells outside, Cuilche, take your pick." Cuilche went outside, and looking at the two, he picked up the bronze cup, filled it full of water and brought it into Fionn. And Fionn took a sip out of it. It was like drinking honey. It was so sweet. But no sooner did he put the cup down than a terrible pain came through him, as if he was being stung inside by bees. And an anguished look came over his face, and Cuilche turned to the man and said, "What's going on?" And the white-haired man says, "You'd better go and get the other water." So Cuilche ran out, grabbed the steel cup, the iron cup, brought it into Fionn, and Fionn took a draught of it, and the taste of it was so bitter, his eyes screwed up and tears flowed from his face. But as soon as he put that cup down, a feeling of mellowness came on him, and he was relaxed, the same as he had been when he walked in the door. Things took a stranger turn. The old man asked the buddock to serve up the meat, and he said, "How will you divide it?" He said, the buddock, "I'll give the finest part, the foreleg, to Fionn and his dog, and I will give the other foreleg to the other four Fianna who are here, and the hind leg to yourself and the old woman, and the other hind leg to me, and the chine and rump and the innards to the old woman." "'Tis well you've divided it," said the man with the white hair. "'Tis not," said the ram, and the ram jumped up and grabbed the hind foreleg that was promised to the Fianna and went into the corner and started eating it. Now the Fianna weren't going to be satisfied with this, so they jumped out of their chairs, brandished their knives, There was no move on the ram, so they began to hit it. But sure, they may as well have been hitting a stone for all the impact it had. And the ram kept eating away. And the old man with the 12 eyes turned to the Fianna and said, "'Tis a pity any of your friends to have you as comrades." And he grabbed the leg of the ram and flung the ram body out the door. And they sat down again and ate their dinner in silence. And as they were sitting there, the hag rose up, and she lifted her veil and cast it over the four men. And suddenly the four men began to grow aged, old. Their chins settled on their chests. They became weak and feeble. And a great fear came over Fionn, for the magic was so powerful. And the old grey-haired man who'd welcomed it in beckoned to Fionn and said, "Come here to me now." He put his arm around him, and Fionn fell fast asleep. And when he woke up, the hag walked over to the men, withdrew the grey veil, and they became as young as they ever were. "Well now," said the old man, "are you wondering, Fionn, at the magic of this house, the aontas of it at all?" "I am," said Fionn, "for I've never seen anything like it." "Well," said the man, "my name is Cuana. This is my house, but I don't live here very often. But what I'm giving you tonight is the experience of knowledge, for all the things in this house are what a man might experience in his life. The buttock there is sloth and sluggishness, and it's only sprightly eagerness in that young woman that drives him on. An eagerness would move in the blink of an eye as quick as a man would walk in a year. And the two drinks of water," he said, "one is truth and one is lies. For lies are sweet to start, but become bitter. And truth might be hard to take at first, but it's the sweetness and peacefulness that will gain on you. And the old man with the 12 eyes is the world, for the world sees everything and is stronger than anybody. And the old woman, she's old age. She comes to visit everybody in their lives. And this story will have the name of Cuana's hospitality if ever you tell it again. That is the story I heard. That is the way it was. And that is the end of it.